Bahrain Grand Prix once again hosts the season opener to the Formula One season, but unlike past years, the entire grid arrived with a lot of nerves about how their cars would shape up. The new V10 hybrid power units and higher downforce cars were proving difficult for the engineers to predict the race pace of on Friday, and is leaving drivers on edge about how the opening round will pan out. The Red Bulls and Renault drivers look to be the prime favorites with good long-run pace, but the Audis of Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen looked untouchable in a straight line and will be looking to cause an upset, especially on Saturday. BMW is a large unknown, with both Perez and Bottas expressing their hope that they can be at the front, but the team is keeping their cards close to their chest. Ferrari's Aarava continued to show struggles with drivability as he tried to get used to the extra pace and speed of his new car. He stated after Friday practice that, quote, "These cars are like nothing I've ever driven, and it's going to be a learning process this season to get on top of them." Finally, Mercedes will be on full damage limitation this race weekend, with Toto Wolff reconfirming Vettel's statements about a major upgrade coming to their car, but not until the third round of the season. Whatever happens on Sunday, the entire paddock is certainly on edge and a lot more nervous than ever before due to the lack of fundamental understanding when it comes to these record-smashing cars in 2022. Welcome back to the grid for the first race of 2022, and after a long winter, it's a familiar name at the top of the timing sheets at the end of Q3 as Carlos Sainz took his V10 hybrid Audi to pole position, and by a significant margin as well, with over 3/10 to the Red Bull of Gasly in second position. The field tightens up quite a bit after Sainz though, with Esteban Ocon only 17,000 slower than his compatriot and only 33,000 quicker than the other Audi of Max Verstappen. Row 3 sees Giovinazzi in P5 and 3 places off his teammate. He's joined by a name not seen in the top 10 recently, as Sergio Perez qualified 6th quickest in his works BMW. Jack Aitken might not be the lead Renault that he's accustomed to, but he was vocal about the team's progress in 2022 and happy to see both cars easily make it to Q3. He's joined on the 4th row by the lead Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Aarava wasn't thrilled about being stone dead last at the end of Q3, but was less vocal than his teammate about it, while Valtteri Bottas in the second BMW slots in between the prancing horses. Daniel Ricciardo was once again denied in his quest to get into the top 10 on Saturday, but his teammate Lando Norris was the real talking point. Seems the Brit is much more comfortable with this year's car and lines up alongside Danny, just 2 thousandths between them. Row 7 features the lead Jag of Van Dorn, who is hoping for better race pace after being slower than both of the Jag-powered McLarens on Saturday, and Nico Hülkenberg will start from way lower than he's used to in recent times. Another huge talking point on Saturday was the performance or lack thereof in the Mercedes, with Vettel almost 1.4 seconds off the pole time and starting alongside the Haas of Wehrlein. The other Jag and other Merc complete the 9th row with not much time between them, and bringing up the rear, it's the returning Alfa Romeos with Ilott over 2/10 quicker than Fuoco, but both drivers over 2 seconds off the pole time.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver Career Mode, episode number 1 of Season 8, the final season of the MyDriver Career Mode series here. And we're here for the beginning of the 2022 season at the Bahrain Grand Prix. If you did miss the pre-season video uploaded yesterday, be sure to go check that one out. Annotation in the top right to get clued in on all the driver transfers, all the different teams, and what this season is going to be all about. Brand new V10 hybrid engines in the back of these cars, nearly double the downforce. These cars really are absolute beasts, and they're going to be a real handful, and it's going to be, as was said in the practice programs there, a real learning curve for me, especially this season, to get on top of them, because I, for one, am definitely not on top of them right now. These cars go into corners so fast now that I'm just not used to it, and I don't think anyone is used to it on the grid, so it's going to be a nervous first round, I think, but looking forward to it. The tyre wear should be pretty similar to last year, so going to see what kind of risks we can take. Maybe it might be aggressive 3-stop, or potentially a bit more of a conservative 2-stop. We'll look at that, and also maybe fuel might be an issue. We'll have to see, really, but looking forward to this season in raids, in Ferrari. I battled these cars in raids so many times before in this series, and so it's kind of really nice to finally be in one and racing for them in the final series, and I know a lot of you guys are really hyped to see me driving for Scuderia Ferrari, so let's get into this then. I'm really pumped. Round number 1, the Bahrain Grand Prix. Let's get into this. It's the start of a new season and the start of a new era in Formula 1. Here we go then to 5 red lights to the Bahrain Grand Prix, and we're underway in 2022. And a shaky start there from us, indeed everyone. A lot of wheel spin as we go towards turn 1 then. Still remaining in P10, Charles Leclerc, my teammate, down the inside of 3, 4, 5 cars almost. They go 3 wide. Leclerc, Giovinazzi, and Verstappen up into turn 2. There's contact. Verstappen's round. We've made contact with Valtteri Bottas. We're off the circuit, and we just narrowly get back on. And now I'm going to be absolutely flooded with cars left and right. I've been swallowed up by the entire grid there. I've got the Mercedes either side of me. We're going to try and find off way round one of them, Mick Schumacher that is. And now we're slotted in a sandwich of the monster Mercedes cars. And looky, surprise, surprise, 8 seasons in and we're still battling Sebastian Vettel on the grid somehow. We go down the inside though. We've got much better pace than that Mercedes car in this Ferrari, but Vettel fights back there. He's on my inside, and so we break a little bit early. Going to try this switchback move into the kind of sharp little left hairpin. Very tricky normally, but in these cars even trickier because you come into that corner with so much more speed now with these cars compared to previous years, and so lockups are so easy into the left-hander. We make it work though. We're having to fend off Mick Schumacher, but we haven't got the pass done on Vettel yet, so the switchback didn't work out. Gonna have to be a bit patient and wait then as we go into the last section of the track, then through the right-hander in third gear, slam down the power, and you can see there right now the difference in performance between the Ferrari and the Mercedes here this afternoon, or night time I should say. Of course, Mercedes waiting on a major upgrade, but for now they're just gonna have to try and do some damage limitation. We go down the inside of Sebastian Vettel then very easily, and the 5-time world champion may not be seeing us anymore in this Grand Prix, or I should hope so really. Meanwhile, back behind us we've got the Jaguar there. I think that's Nico Kari trying to go down the inside of Mick Schumacher then into turn 1, and I think he was actually having a look at both the Mercedes cars. It looked like he was going down the inside of Sebastian Vettel as well. Yes, he has done. He's now round the outside trying it. He does it there into turn 2. What a move there by the young Finn. Nico Kari in the Jaguar alongside Stoffel Van Dorn this season then, and it's a double overtake on the Mercedes cars, and they are left embarrassed for sure, and Kari can now pop off on his way and try and chase after that Alfa Romeo. But let's finally look now at a replay then of the opening lap. Here is the man in question, Max Verstappen, the one who has spun out there in the Audi Sport GP car. Now down the inside of Antonio Giovinazzi in the Red Bull into turn 1. Leclerc now sends it down the inside. Absolutely great move there by Charles, but into turn 2. Oh, bad pinch, bad pinch from either side, and really honestly that's not Verstappen's fault in my opinion. It's just a racing incident. Actually I don't think it's really anyone's fault. I don't know, do let me know in the comments below. Here's Giovinazzi's POV, then big lockup from Carlos Sainz up ahead in the lead, but there is Gio. Now I think maybe he definitely could have backed out of that because he had to cut the corner to even make that turn. Here's our teammate Charles Leclerc with a great dive bomb down there. Look at that, what a start there from the young lad. And now on the outside, and he could have maybe also given some room. I think all three of them a little bit of fault, and that's why I say a racing incident. And now finally, let's take a look at that start from Pierre Gasly in second place on the front row of the grid. Down the inside he went of Carlos Sainz as the lockup just happens there, and the Spaniard has to give up the position, and the Frenchman is up into the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix. So a great start there from Pierre Gasly, the man who lost the championship to me last season. Start off very well in 2022, but now we move back to our POV. We're chasing after Antonio Fuoco in the Alfa Romeo, obviously the Ferrari B team effectively, but we've got yellow flags up ahead, and it's a car that's out. Valtteri Bottas, oh what a shame for him and the BMW team, the BMW Works team, the first time they're back in Formula 1, and it's ended in misery for one of their drivers. Valtteri Bottas was going so well, I think. He was in the top 7 at least, and both the BMW cars were looking really good for this race, but one of them is already out here, and you can definitely tell it's a opening round of a season because we've got DNFs left, right, and centre, a lot of spins, and you can just feel the tension and the nerves in the air, I feel. And you've got both the Haas Chevrolet cars going side by side, Hulkenberg and Wehrlein, and I think that's Hulkenberg that's just been squeezed out by his teammate Wehrlein there, but what a shame for Valtteri Bottas. He's not really had much luck in Formula 1 in MyDriver, and that continues for him today at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Clearly, now we try and go around the outside of Hulkenberg there. It doesn't work out in the initial stage, but around the outside in the S section. And now, oh my god, another car is out. Carlos Sainz is now out in the Audi, so it's a double disaster for the Audi guys. Verstappen's already at the back of the grid, and now Carlos Sainz has parked up. It truly is quite a chaotic opening round here of this season. We've got 2 double DNFs on almost the same lap nearly, because Bottas is pretty much at the end of this lap and Sainz in the opening sector. And there's the engine failure for the BMW man. Valtteri Bottas parks up on the right there by the Marshall post, and that's really unfortunate. Quite gutting, because I know Bottas was probably feeling quite good about himself in the top 10 after such a long time being down the grid order in Formula 1. And then here's Carlos Sainz. He's used to being up here, but then he gets an engine failure, and that's probably all to something he's used to from last season. So I don't know, from the opening lap here, you know, both Audis, and one of them's out and one of them's down the order, is this unfortunately all too familiar from Season 7 last year for Audi. You know, looking good, got the pace, but just unfortunate with reliability issues and bad luck there. We'll have to see. It is only the first round of 14, but yeah, not a great omen there as we go down the inside then Pasco Verline and we're up into P10, and so we're back in the point paying position. So actually you would have noticed I actually ended up really far back there in P16, so this is actually going to have to be a drive and a half really to recover into good points. I believe Charles Leclerc, my teammate, is up in P3 at the moment, or it might be P2 now since Sainz has retired. I think Esteban Ocon might be there in P2 though, but either way, he's massively outperforming me at the moment, and I was already worried about my performance this race due to the fact that, like I said, these cars are such a handful. I was worried about if I could really match it against Charles Leclerc in these cars, let alone having to divert around Bottas and Verstappen on the opening lap. And speaking of Verstappen, he's made a very easy move there in a straight line on the Alfa Romeo of Calamolo, I think that was, down the inside. And then we've got a bad lock-up for Antonio Fuoco, who's doing so well up above both Mercedes cars and the Jaguar, but Nico Kari has pressurized him into a mistake, and Kari is up ahead of Fuoco then, and he'll be under pressure from the two Mercs quite swiftly. But Kari doing really well then. Slow start, but he's on the soft tyres compared to all these guys on super soft, so he's doing a really mega job, Kari is, to get up the order and try and match his teammate Van Dorn, who I believe is on super softs though. So Kari going with an alternative strategy, and that might work out for him, you never know, because we move on to lap 6 and you can see the tyre wear is kicking in on these super soft tyres. But for now, I feel like I'm going to hold station, because you can see up ahead the likes of Lando Norris staying put there along with Daniel Ricciardo, both McLarens ahead of me, staying out for one more lap. So I'm going to stay out with them and see how it goes. Those two very close together, so maybe if they start fighting, I could maybe get into the mix there, you never know. But on the last corner of lap 7 then, we're right at the back of Lando Norris, and instead of eating his dirty air for one more lap and wearing out our tyres one more, we're going to come in now and get an undercut on not only him but also his teammate Ricciardo there, and try and see how powerful it may be. It might be quite good around Bahrain here with the tyres and with these cars, because you know, it's definitely going to be very, very interesting. I think at certain circuits this season we'll see more gains in lap time than you see at others. I think at Catalonia in pre-season the effects were a little bit less compared to here at Bahrain, where you really notice the difference in pace. I mean, the race pace is pretty much low 22s you're getting towards, whereas that's not even possible in qualifying at the moment in real life Formula 1 terms back in 2018. So, you know, here in this fantasy world of F1 2022 here, these things really are monsters around here. So we move on then, looking at the race leaders. So that was Antonio Giovinazzi there, I believe, a little bit down the order in P4. That is Pierre Gasly. He's already made a pit stop, I believe that is, because he's on soft tyres. He's making his way through traffic there, and the same with Esteban Ocon. So Gasly and Ocon already made pit stops, so they're running 1 and 2 in a net position, but they're having to go through some traffic now. The same for my teammate Leclerc, who's already made his pit stop onto soft tyres, so he may be also getting an undercut on his rivals, and the difference is his rivals being Giovinazzi on track at the moment, and also the other Renault of Jack Aitken, whereas I'm trying to just overtake the McLaren Jaguars here. Now you can see also Perez is close behind, flying the single flag for BMW. Perez in the slipstream of Leclerc, and on the left-hand side there goes Giovinazzi, and there's Jack Aitken, and will Leclerc made it around the outside of Jack? Yes, he can, and Leclerc is now slotting behind Giovinazzi. So I'm not too sure who's gained there, because we didn't see what the pecking order was, but it looks like it's Gasly from Ocon, Giovinazzi, Leclerc, Jack Aitken, and then Sergio Perez as your top 6 there. So Perez looked quite close, so let's see if he makes any moves and shakes. Now we go to turn 1 of lap 9, and we're up the order. We're ahead of Lando Norris there, and we have made the undercut work. So Leclerc may have not been able to do it, but we have. Obviously, we didn't hit any traffic there. We didn't have to overtake any cars, so that's exactly what I wanted. You know, I saw that there might have been some clean space for us, and there was, and we gained a lot there. As Van Dorn now sets past after the Grand Prix. So the Jaguar Works car getting up the pace there in the race order. So now we go into turn 1 again on lap 10, and we've overtaken another papaya orange McLaren there of Daniel Ricciardo. So double undercut move there from us. Really good work there to make that strategy pull off. And you can see Lando Norris has also subsequently made the undercut on his own teammate there. And so now Norris ahead of Ricciardo, but Ricciardo might have other things to say about that, as Ricciardo's going to try and go around the outside of his younger teammate there. Norris trying to prove himself in the McLaren. He had such a tough time last year with a handful of a car, and he was absolutely slapped by Ricciardo all year last season. But now Ricciardo trying to fight back, as now Lando's trying to show off what he's made of. And Ricciardo on the outside. Can he do it? No, he can't. He has been shoved off the racing line, and Lando Norris has announced himself in Formula 1 there I'm looking forward to looking at the McLaren cars all season, really, if the fighting's going to be like that. It seemed a little bit frosty there between Norris and Ricciardo, and that's what you like to see. Meanwhile, we've got Max Verstappen still making his way through the order around the outside of one of the Alfa Romeo cars. I think that's Antonio Fuoco, and now closing on the back of Nico Kari in the Jaguar there. So he's trying to kind of catch up to Kari whilst he was making his move through the grids, but he's been a bit lagging behind. Meanwhile, back behind, you've got Mick Schumacher still having a little bit of a look on Vettel, but unable to make that work, and right behind them is the youngster Callum Ilott, obviously just thrown into Formula 1, still trying to find his feet, I guess, and so struggling at the moment. And we're going to go from one end of the race to the other and look at the race leaders here. Pierre Gasly ahead of Esteban Ocon, then 1 and 2, these two are, and Gasly at the moment doing a great job at controlling this race, but Esteban Ocon's got the pressure on, and he's looking like he wants it. He's on the faster tyre, remember, this super soft, and now with DRS open, can he make a pass for the lead here? He's going to pull out to the left just about, yes he will, for the race lead. This is Esteban Ocon down the inside in the Renault versus the Red Bull Chevrolet. Gasly doesn't have anything to answer for, it looks like, although he might have a go. No, doesn't do it, and he has to slot in right behind, but that was super close. I almost thought Pierre was going to have a little look down the inside, little nose dive bomb, but thought better of it. And so Esteban Ocon now leads the Bahrain Grand Prix for Renault Sport GP. They'll be very happy about that. You know, they weren't sure about whether they were really going to be at the sharp end of the F1 grid this season, but looks like all that development and the kind of hopes on the V10 era have paid off there for Renault, and Esteban Ocon leads and quite happily will lead. And so now we're on to lap 14, and meanwhile for us, it's been a case of just trying to go about our business and try and set consistent lap time, because I've had no one around me really. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you get pushed away to the side of the circuit and go down the order. You're having to make up time on track and just make up the distance, and so I've been trying to do that against Stoffel Vandoorne, which is the next car up the order, but he's been going really well. Vandoorne really dragging that car up. You know, he's in lofty points paying positions, whereas his teammate Nico Kari is down here just trying to make some overtakes for around P11, P12 I think this is, and Kari makes another move on Pascal Wehrlein there, so he's going really well. It's actually having a very decent race. You know, if he had a better start, Kari, and a better qualifying, he'd be right up there in the high points paying positions along with his teammate there. So, you know, good positive signs there for the young Finn. And meanwhile then you can see also Verstappen getting in the midst of it, and that Haas struggling for pace, and Verstappen around the outside of the German, and he's made it work. He's on super softs, he's on soft tyres, Wehrlein is, and so that was always going to happen probably in the corners, and so he's down the order. And so now moving back to us on lap 16 there, these soft tyres really haven't been the best time for us. Definitely, at least not for our car, not the race tyre to be on. The super softs had a lot more consistency lap after lap. You know, despite the tyre wear being obviously more harsher on the super softs, the consistency was much better, whereas these soft tyres, I don't know what it is, I just couldn't keep up with Stoffel Vandoorne, which was very baffling, of course, because in testing, you know, this Ferrari car was proving, and in qualifying indeed, was a lot faster than the Jaguar, so that was quite a question mark. So we're on to a set of super soft tyres, and we are on a much more aggressive 3-stop. Remember, last season, we did a 3-stop here around Bahrain, and that worked out for us quite well there. So we're going to try and do the same thing, because the tyres are pretty much the same tyres as we had last season, season 7. So we're going to see how that works out, and we're out now behind Pascal Wehrlein once more, and we'll catch up to him quite swiftly on this outlap there. Ahead of Lando Norris still. He's opted for medium tyres, but if you remember to last season, the mediums weren't really a tyre you wanted to be on, and so Norris trying a bit of a gamble there, and I suspect a lot of these guys might try gambles, of course. Ferrari and F1 wanting the teams to take risks, and so that's going to be a risk either way, either going with the medium tyres or one more stop like me on these super softs. And now we're going to try and overtake our old teammate from last season in the Haas here, but he's making a real work of it there, and I'm surprised there's been no damage to our front wing, thankfully, as we make some contact there. So Wehrlein, no love lost, of course, very familiar with him. Rivals back when we were teammates in Mercedes in season 2 and 3, and then we kind of patched things up and were teammates last season for half that when I went on to win the championship last year. And so yeah, clearly a bit of a difficult move there for me, but I finally made it work. And now in is Jack Aitken from Supersoft Tyres, and he will put on a set of medium tyres, I suspect, and the same could be said of Sergio Perez. Yep, there we go, medium tyres there, and Sergio Perez, I think, also medium tyres. Yeah, so a lot of the top guys are on medium tyres and are going to try that gamble of the mediums. Not a lot of the teams brought a lot of mediums, just like in real life F1. The medium tyres hardly used throughout the entire weekend, so a bit of an unknown. Stab into the dark, and there goes Esteban Ocon then ahead into turn 1, and he still leads the way in this Grand Prix from Pierre Gasly. Aitken then out the pit lane along with Sergio Perez, and then there goes the two Jaguars. Nico Kari there, I think, ahead of Stoffel Vandoorne, because Vandoorne is also on a 3-stop along with me on Supersofts, whereas Kari going a little bit longer. So will Jaguar make a switch, I wonder? Let's let's see. But Kari and Van Dorn right up back behind Sergio Perez, and looking pretty good and pretty hungry, both Jaguar cars, I must say. And now we move on later, and you've got the McLarens now making their pit stops, and now you've got both of them on medium tyres. But look at that, Dan Ricciardo has managed to jump back ahead of Lando Norris on the overcut strategy there. So I don't know if McLaren tried that on purpose, of course, wanting to maybe favour their senior driver, but quite nicely ahead on strategy there of the younger man Norris. And so now we see more pit stops then for the likes of Antonio Giovinazzi and Charles Leclerc as the Renault goes past then on the medium tyres. So I think all the top guys have made their final pit stops for the race, and so it'll be a case of who's made the right call, who's on the right tyre, because you've got the likes of the Red Bull and my teammate Charles Leclerc, the Ferrari, on soft tyres. So that is going to be intriguing to see if those softs are going to truly perform better than those mediums, because for me, the soft tyres really weren't that great. And speaking of the aggressive strategy versus the conservative one, we've got Van Dorn on super softs chasing after Sergio Perez, and those mediums already going quite slow compared to Van Dorn, and he's locked up, the Mexican has, in the BMW there, and Van Dorn is swiftly through. Of course, Van Dorn, like me, has one more pit stop to make though, so kind of, you know, it's not all too bad for Sergio Perez there, but you can clearly see a stark difference in pace between the red super softs and the white medium tyres, as Antonio Giovinazzi now sets the timesheet alight. So those soft tyres maybe are working, but in stark contrast, we've got a bit of a pickle here. So Van Dorn is in, and he's made his final pit stop onto another set of super soft tyres, but the thing is, we're up here in P7. If I make a pit stop, I'm going to be behind Van Dorn by a couple of seconds, and I really haven't, for some reason, had the pace. You know, like I said, I still need to get used to this car, really, and get on top of it. But the thing is, I'm in P7. This is a very good result, considering I was down in P16. I am seriously considering now at this stage of the Grand Prix, as now you can see a mistake there for Sebastian Vettel in the Mercedes car, and that's allowed the Alfa Romeo to get past at this late stage of the Grand Prix, with potentially these guys on medium tyres struggling a little bit towards the end of the stint. Should I gamble and try and stretch this super soft longer than it really should ever go, and, you know, take that risk that Pirelli and F1 have been wanting drivers to take, and, you know, take the risk of, okay, let's try and stretch this and make it a two-stop, because if we could, and we could end up in P7, I would call this a resounding success of a Grand Prix to say I was nearly last, almost, give or take a few positions there. I don't know, we're going to have to kind of have a look at it, because I really don't think I'm going to have the pace to get back into P7 or P8 if I make that extra pit stop with Van Dorn that he's already made, because he's going to be, I think, in the middle of McLaren's now, having to make overtakes, as we saw here now, Verstappen making an overtake on Nico Kari there, and now speaking about Van Dorn just there he is, and he's behind, not even a McLaren right now, it's a Haas, so I think Pascal Wehrlein here. So Van Dorn, he's on soft tyres as well, he's not even on super soft, so you know, I think the gamble might be worth it, you know. I'm going to have to drive very differently. I'm going to have to really protect the tyres and stay off the curbings, but I think it may be a gamble that might just pay off. As Van Dorn makes the overtake stick around the outside of actually Nico Hülkenberg, that was, and Hülkenberg put up a really good fight into the last corner there, and we move on 1 lap or 2 laps later. Catching up to the McLaren now of Lando Norris. Van Dorn's really got his foot down there in the last stage of this Grand Prix. At a rate of knots, DRS open on the left, and it's Jaguar v Jaguar, the works Jaguar v the McLaren Jag, and Van Dorn is through. But remember, I would have been about 3 seconds back, further back from where Van Dorn is. So I think let's risk it. Let's go to the end on these supers. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, we tried it. And meanwhile now, speaking of trying it, Charles Leclerc may be trying an overtake now on Antonio Giovinazzi, his former teammate. Remember, Gio was in this Ferrari last season, and so these two former teammates might be battling at the end of this race, and there might be a further battle going on for the race lead. Here's Gasly pressurising Esteban Ocon now. I guess it's quite a good day for Formula 1 for the French, because it's two Frenchmen, 1-2 in this Grand Prix at the moment. So your running order at the moment, if you haven't been able to keep up, is Esteban Ocon in the lead of this Grand Prix, followed by Pierre Gasly, Antonio Giovinazzi, Charles Leclerc, then you've got Jack Aitken in the other Renault, Sergio Perez in P6, and then here we are in P7, and behind us is Daniel Ricciardo. And then I imagine one rapid stop of Van Dorn closing him up quite quickly, as we've got 2-3 laps remaining here. As we go on to lap 27, you can see the state of my tyre wear there on the right hand side. 62% on the front left is my highest tyre there. But you know what, if we are delicate enough here, as you can see, literally flying Van Dorn, purple fast lap of the Grand Prix then, so that Jag has really got the race pace compared to its qualifying pace. But if we are just careful enough for 3 more laps, just 3, stay off the curbing, especially on the front left, and just nurse and caress these tyres through to about, 70% is when they get to that danger zone of potentially a puncher. You can see how slow I'm going now through these corners compared to the opening laps. but I think we can do it. I think we can pull it off. I would have been in more of a pickle if my tyres were at 68%, let's say, at this stage. Because they're 62, I think we could just about maybe manage this. Meanwhile, later in this Grand Prix, we've got a fight now between Hulkenberg and Lando Norris, the two that got overtaken by Stoffel Van Dorn, are now fighting out, and a good DRS pass there for Hulkenberg in the pit straight, and he's up the order. And Norris at the moment struggling now after initially impressing quite a bit in the opening stage of the Grand Prix. Now back to the top 5 then. Esteban Ocon P1, Pierre Gasly pressurising in P2 there, and into the third second sector. It's a mistake there for the Frenchman Ocon, and the other Frenchman Pierre Gasly is through, and it's a race lead swap there, and Gasly leads the Bahrain Grand Prix once again as we go on to the second last lap of the Grand Prix this is. And Gasly, the one with all the championship experience from seasons gone by, pressurises Ocon. Ocon's never really been used to being in race leads, and that kind of shows there with a bad lock-up mistake there for him. And just a little bit further down the road is another fight for P3, the last podium position here between Giovinazzi and Leclerc. Lock-up from the Italian there, and so is this going to be a pass for my teammate? He moves to the left, DRS open there, they're side by side, and that'll be for the podium position. Leclerc gets it, and he's up into P3, and Giovinazzi looks like he's going to have to settle down for P4 as Leclerc starts to streak away straight away in the next corner or so. So great performance there for my teammate, and he's really putting me to shame in this first race, although to be fair, I did have that kerfuffle on lap 1, but he's flying the flag and doing a great job indeed. And meanwhile now, that is Esteban Ocon, I think that is, yeah, Ocon into the pits on the last lap of the Grand Prix, off medium tyres onto softs, and it's been a disaster there for the French outfit and for the Frenchman, and he's going to be down the order, and I think maybe even behind his teammate Jack Aitken. He'll still finish in the top 5, but I think it'll be Jack Aitken up into P4, and Ocon will be moving down to P5, and that promotes Charles Leclerc then up into P2, and Giovinazzi into P3, so even better then for my teammate. Meanwhile for us, I've been tiptoeing around in these last couple of laps as we move on to the last lap of the Grand Prix, and we've got some good news though. There is Sergio Perez in the pits, and he's also made a last-minute pit stop, and so we are going to be fighting for P6, not even just P7, so I'm doubly happy that I went for this risk. You can see there is Van Dorn in the background there. Ricardo's right up my chuff with the medium tyres, but we're just about hanging on there. 72% wear on the front left, but we're making it work, and now we're on the last lap of the Grand Prix. I can maybe afford to just eke out and lean on the tyres a little bit, because I should be able to make this to the end. I hope I don't curse myself as we move on right to the last sector. It's Pierre Gasly who's across the line for the win of the Bahrain Grand Prix, but it's not over there for us. It's not over yet. 74% wear on the front left. We move away to try and stop the slipstream from Daniel Ricciardo into the last corner. Nice and easy. Don't want a puncher right here, because that I would literally end myself if there was a puncher right there. And here we go across the line, and it is going to be P6 at the Bahrain Grand Prix. A great recovery, all things considered, that I was down in P16 and having to overtake so many cars there, and also with the lack of pace on the soft tyres. But well done then to my biggest rival really, MyDriver, Pierre Gasly, winning the Bahrain Grand Prix, the opening round of this 2022 season. Fantastic job by him to pressurise Esteban Ocon all race long. Those two were so close within 1 second, and it was all about the fine margins here today, and the Frenchman Gasly has pulled it through over his compatriot, let alone that late pit stop, because he wouldn't have known he was going to make that late pit stop, so he had to make it count, and he has done, and so he secured that win for Red Bull Chevrolet. That's been a very tense and shaky opening round to the season, with these very different cars. It always was going to be everyone on the edge of their seats wondering how each is really going to perform for the very first time in a race scenario with that amount of pace in these new cars. And so I think, like I said, overall I've got to be happy with that result. But Pierre Gasly leads the way then in the championship, of course, but that's the full, obviously the standings, the driver's standings are the full race results then effectively. Then you can see a great day for Jack Aitken actually to get a little bit lucky then in the end and get ahead of his more senior teammate Esteban Ocon. Dan Ricciardo gets into the points from McLaren, and that's a good sign for them. Stoffel Van Dorn will be a little disappointed because the Works Jaguar was looking a lot better than the McLaren all race long, but with that, a very aggressive strategy, he just couldn't pull it through at the end there. And then Nico Kari, great job for him, because I think he was down in P17, P18 even at the very beginning of this Grand Prix, so he's done a mega job to get into the points paying position. So Jaguar put faith in him, and I think they're going to get a return on that. I think in Sergio Perez, they're in 9th place. Well, BMW are probably going to be really hitting themselves today. The retirement of Valtteri Bottas, and then just the wrong call on the tyre strategy there with Sergio Perez. They could have well have been underway for a double podium, really, maybe, you've got to say. We never know. But we'll move on to the second round and we'll see how that goes for them. And the Constructors title, Red Bull get an early lead from us in Ferrari in second place, Renault third place there. McLaren will be very happy in P4, Jaguar P5, and BMW P6. They'll be hoping to jump up. And of course, really, really bad day in the office for Audi. They'll also be looking to make a return in round 2. But guys, if you have enjoyed that opening round then of this final season of the MyDriver Career Mode Series Season 8, smash that like button, guys. Let's try and see if we can aim for, I don't know, something like over 2,000 likes, 2,500 likes. That'd be absolutely awesome, guys, if you could try and do that. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of that opening round. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And in terms of the upload schedule for this series, I'm going to tentatively say I'm going to be trying to aim for an episode every 2 to 3 days. Yes, every 2 to 3 days. You heard that correctly. So there's not going to be a set upload schedule. They'll go up when they go up, but I'm going to try and aim for every 2 to 3 days, hopefully. But if it's like a day late or so, here and there, you know why I'm not going to a set schedule anymore. It's just a bit too difficult to stick to a set upload time and day for this series. And also, I want to try and get them out a little bit faster, of course, because we need to finish the series before F1 2018 comes out of the game. But guys, again, if you have enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, and I hope you guys are happy about the return of F1 MyDriver Career Mode, the final season, and hopefully we're going out with a bang. I thoroughly enjoyed that first race. Hope you guys did as well, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. I've been aarava. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.